A man at the end of his rope must unravel a mystery in a far-flung sector of the galaxy. The web of conspiracy is tightly woven, and John Abbott is but one man fighting the darkness. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of DJ Butler's Abbott and Darkness. John Abbott has just moved his family from New York to Saravar Alpha to work for the Saravar Company. He brings his wife Ruth, his daughter Sunitha, and Ellie, and their dog Anamush. Now, this is a sci-fi novel, but it's definitely in the vein of, well, a Western is how I would describe it, though I actually chatted with DJ Butler, and the way he described it and the inspiration for it is Age of Sail, so think like trading companies in the Far East during the colonial period of sorts. So space travel seems to be working by wormholes, and there are sentient and sapient extraterrestrials on this world of Saravar Alpha. For this story, the most important are the Weavers, native to Saravar Alpha, or seemingly native. John gets a job as an auditor, and he is to look into apparent malfeasance at a remote station on the planet. Though it's kind of interesting that the story is about a family man accountant who doesn't like violence, and that's really what he is. He's an accountant. He is not something else that is, he's an accountant on the side or whatever, and he's shooting guns for the most part. He's actually just straight up an accountant. He actually does accounting in the book. But anyways, he is in extreme debt from loans from school, and he wants to be a trader, so someone who buys weave from the Weavers and ships it to Earth to be sold, which the traders would make more money doing that rather than their salary from the company. Only he isn't allowed quite yet to be a trader with his job position. Though he can trade through traders, though, they just take a cut of the profit, and finding the best person to do business with isn't that easy. Now, I will say, I have read several DJ Butler novels at this point. This was actually my 8th, and I was lucky enough to get an arc from the author. This comes out on May 3rd for those curious, which will be about a week after this review comes up. Now, I will say that dialogue is expertly done. It's not surprising knowing Butler. It flows very nicely, and each character has their own distinct voice, and there's really nothing to complain about here. The focus on family is also really well done. It's something I feel Butler is really strong at, and a whole family present in the story here really shines through, since a lot of sci-fi or fantasy doesn't focus on family all that much, or at least it doesn't feel like they do, maybe more so in recent years, but still it's not super common, but it is something that Butler does well. Again, taking from his other books, it's just something he does well anytime he's writing about it. So now the main personality for the character is John, again trying to do what is right for his family and the locals, but as well as himself, right? So I mean, he could essentially be the bad guy and go make some money, which would sort of be doing the right thing by his family, right? I mean, because he'd be giving them money, they give him a chance to go back to Earth if they wanted to, but is it the right thing to do? Is it morally good, essentially, right? And his change as a character comes somewhat slowly, but it never stops. It's something he thinks about a lot as the story goes on, and it really is what drives the plot in a way. Now, there is a lot of action as well and suspense, which is pretty interesting, which is why I compared it more to a Western, because it just kind of gives you that feel of a lawlessness and this company coming in, basically conquering the natives, right? And it's definitely interesting. It's definitely an interesting story, and the story is standalone, but it definitely leaves some things open for more stories by the end. And honestly, I would love to read more, especially since I have some questions that are not quite answered by the end. And so in a sense, it is kind of typical Butler. The world building is good, though the focus is more on characters and plot here, I would say. And it's interesting, again, it's kind of like a space western. Though another thing typical of Butler that you especially see in his witchy war books is his use of language, as he is a fan of language. We do get here a pigeon, and it's really a pigeon, called Sedjam or Sedjam. I don't really know how to say it actually. And there is a glossary for it at the end, giving you the words. And it's explained well enough in the book, so you learn the words as John Abbott learns the words. But it was pretty interesting mix, because this is definitely, especially as it works with the plot and the world building, as John kind of wonders where this pigeon came from, because it doesn't really use any English words, which again is something you'll have to experience once you read this. So I did really enjoy this. Again, I'm grateful I got a copy a little early, and if you are interested, if this sounds interesting to you, it may be a good place to start with reading Butler if you haven't read any Butler. It's a nice standalone story. It's somewhat sci-fi in feel. It's kind of cozy with the family setting, at least. Of course, there are other Butler books to start with that I'd recommend just about all of them. So if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments, or you could come and join the Discord that I have, which I will link down below, where we talk about books and whatnot there. It's a pretty small place, so it's not overly crowded, which is nice for some people. So anyways, in Liam's Lyceum, let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed the review, and I will catch you next time.